Hello and welcome, welcome. I'm Chanel Childs, and I don't know. I tried to send this to my list, so give me 1 minute. Let me figure out what's going on with this. Let me see if I can send something else because I'd like to invite people to this, but I don't know that. Maybe if I invite people to the YouTube page, maybe they'll be able to see, because I tried to invite them to this event, but the problem with this is that it's not. Oh, there we go. Okay, let me just send a quick email, you guys. Thank you for being patient. But the problem with this is that, one moment, it's not. Let me just send this correct link to some of my friends here and get them here. I'm so grateful that you guys are all here. So I'm still learning this whole Google Plus thing. As a home-based business owner, I've learned from many of my mentors that you need to have at least one live event a week, right? And this is one of the things that I've kind of, in many ways, slacked on. So I'm learning to get this thing going once a week. I mean, I have live events each week, but I think a hangout's even more powerful than just doing some sort of, whatever you want to call it. I think it's more powerful doing a hangout than, just doing like live streams or Periscope, which I do every Monday through Friday. If you guys want to check that out, I do it at 9 a.m. Pacific time every Monday through Friday. But I think that hangouts are something that challenge me a little bit more because I need to be a little bit more stable, I guess. I mean, I guess I could do it from my phone, but with something like a live hangout, I would prefer to do it, let me see, from my computer. All right, so let's see here. Almost done. I just wanted to get that message out to some of my friends here on my list, because I think that, it's very powerful to, share. You got to kind of not just like, you don't want to just have live hangouts or live events that no one knows about, right? You kind of want to like invite people to the live event so then they actually know what's going on and what's happening, right? So let me just go ahead and redo this here. Almost ready to get started on what I learned from Bob Proctor. Some of the things that I learned from Bob Proctor are, pretty powerful, I believe. And it's really, a lot of it's really, stuff that I've learned from, one moment. Sorry, guys. Just either do a reposting here of something on my fan page here. Make sure that everybody has the correct link. I'm still, like I said before, I'm kind of new to this Google Plus thing, or to the, the Hangout thing. I don't usually have a lot of Hangouts. And so because I don't necessarily have a lot of Hangouts, I'm more so, I think a lot of times we learn by doing, right? One of my mentors says, hello and welcome to all of you newcomers. I'm Chanel Childs. What we're talking about today is what I learned from Bob Proctor. I was just getting my message out to a couple of people because I'm still new to this Google Plus thing, right? I have a lot of live events that I do each week, which are, on Periscope mainly, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And the reason that I actually do that is because you know, I have a mentor by the name of David Wood who says, you know, you should do at least one live event a week, right? At least one live event a week. And so I started doing, you know, looking at what some of my mentors were doing, which they were doing, you know, 5 live events a week, like Monday through Friday. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to start doing what these other successful entrepreneurs are doing, right? Because if we want to be successful, we kind of want to model what other successful people are doing, right? We don't necessarily want to copy them, but we want to begin to do what other successful people are doing, because that's how we're going to get to the next level, right? We don't necessarily want to follow people who aren't where we want to go, but we want to follow people who are where we want to go, and people who are earning more money than us, right? Now, one of the things I've once heard one of my mentors, Aaron Rashkin, say, which is something along the lines of, you know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, right? So we want to get around the right people, find out what they're doing, and we want to start doing that. And that's part of the reason why we are having this live hangout today. You know, like I said earlier, I learned from my mentor David Wood to, you know, have at least one live event a week. And so I do live events a week daily, but I found that hangouts are something that I think are a little bit something that I need to get a little bit more skilled at, right? Something that I want to work on, and something that I want to get into the habit of doing weekly, right? Because this is where I think that you and I can have the most success, you know. And David Wood doesn't say just have one live event a week, but he says have at least one live event a week where you're actually selling. And so what I wanted to talk to you about today is what I learned from Bob Proctor, who's actually one of my mentors who I haven't ever met. Let me just double check one thing, guys. You know, I haven't ever met, I keep thinking that I'm sending this to my list and I haven't sent it off yet. So I just want to make sure that they're able to get on this, right? Because I think this is like important information for each and every one of us. If you're a home-based business owner, or maybe you're not already a home-based business owner, or maybe you're looking to start a home-based business, I think whatever business you're in, this can be valuable, right? Because we're kind of in the digital age, or a lot of people call it the information age. And so I think a lot of times if we can begin to leverage the internet, really no matter what business we're in, even if you're an author, an artist, a speaker, a musician, whatever that is for you, I think that the digital age that we're in, we can really utilize the internet and capitalize on it in any business, right? You can utilize a Google Hangout to have a live stream of your band playing, or you singing, or whatever it is that you do. Maybe you're an actor or a comedian, I don't know, but I think that this platform right here that we have right here, which is free, we can use it to, you know, leverage really anything, right? Or any business. And what I really wanted to talk to you about today is what I learned from Bob Proctor. And you see, as a home-based business owner and entrepreneur, I got started out, you know, before I got started out, I ran into a guy by the name of Bob Proctor, right? And if you don't know who Bob Proctor is, I encourage you to look him up. Now, Bob Proctor actually, you know, was sent to me from somebody that I got on their emailing list, and they, you know, sent me this guy who had this story about how he used to go to this job that he hated, that he thought he was going to get fired from, right? And I think he traveled like 2 hours to even get there. It like took him a while to get to this job that he hated, which he thought he was going to get fired from. So it was almost insane that he was traveling to a job that he thought he was going to get fired from. And I thought to myself, wow, that's kind of my life. You know, that's how I feel. You know, within my current situation, I felt like I was in a position where I was, you know, thought that I was going to get fired, and I really didn't like my job, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching Bob Proctor, and I'm thinking, this story of his is my story. You know, I totally relate to this guy, Bob Proctor, who's telling this story. It's so much to him, I really connected with him. And one of the things that Bob Proctor really talked about, and one of the things that he talks about to this day, is the power of studying and really, you know, working through the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, Napoleon Hill actually wrote Think and Grow Rich like back in the 1930s, but being that he wrote this book, it's a very powerful book, because in it, it kind of gives you the foundations, you know, the different foundations for what people like Andrew Carnegie or John D. Rockefeller or Henry Ford did to actually create the kind of fortunes that they wanted to create. Now, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that Napoleon Hill actually, you know, studied the top millionaires in America during, you know, the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s. I'm not sure the exact dates, but he studied these men for like 25 years, and then he came up with this book, Think and Grow Rich. And once again, don't quote me on that. I could be saying it totally wrong, but I know that he actually decided to study this philosophy of success because he knew that, number one, he wanted to, you know, he wanted to help other people become successful, right? He wanted to help other people become, you know, reach their dreams. And so what he did was he actually connected with someone by the name of Andrew Carnegie, who actually gave him this idea to come up with this, like, this book, you know, or like study this philosophy of success and find out what these millionaires were doing, and then actually to write a book on it and actually teach other people. So what Bob Proctor actually did, or sorry, not Bob Proctor, but what Napoleon Hill actually did was he went and he took what he, you know, had learned from how Andrew, you know, Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and all these successful millionaires during that time were doing. And he actually studied them and actually went and wrote a book on it. And so today we have this book, this lovely book called Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read the book, I highly encourage you to get a copy of it because I think it's very powerful. And in this, in this book, Napoleon Hill has a chapter on persistence, right? And one of the things that Bob Proctor told me about when I had first got this, when I first received his email, many years ago, or maybe it was like a few years back, maybe 5 years ago, talking about the job that he hated that he would travel to. When I got to connect and really check out this book, in this book, Bob really starts to talk about the fact that, or Bob Proctor really encouraged you and I in this video, or whatever video I was watching. I think I had actually bought one of his programs at the time, which was called like 6 Minutes to Success. And in this 6 Minutes to Success, he talked about how you should read the chapter on persistence every single day, right? He maybe gave it like 30 days or 90 days. Don't quote me on it. I'm not completely sure, but he told me to, read this chapter every day, right? So I started to read in this chapter every day, right? And I still read in this chapter every day, or as much as I can, right? Sometimes we miss days and things like that. But for the most part, I always try to, at least read in that chapter. Because why do I say read in that chapter? Because in that chapter, Napoleon Hill gives 4 things that I believe that you and I need in our home-based business in order to get to the next level, right? And the 4 things, hello and welcome to all of you newcomers. I'm Chanel Childs. What we're talking about today is what I learned from Bob Proctor. And it's something that I learned a few years ago when I first got started out in recognizing and realizing that there was a home-based business industry out there that actually existed. And in that, Bob Proctor actually encouraged me, hello to all of you newcomers. Bob Proctor actually encouraged me to begin to study in a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, right? If you haven't already read the book, or if you don't know the book, you can actually find it for free in many cases online. In this book, Napoleon Hill actually lays down the foundations for what you and I need to do to really succeed in any calling, right? Whether you're a musician, an artist, whether you're a singer, a dancer, writer, whatever it is that you do, if you're in the home-based business industry or whatever business you're in, Napoleon Hill laid down the foundations in this book of what the top people who were actually millionaires back in the early 1900s did to get to where they were, right? Napoleon Hill studied these people, and then he wrote this book on what they did, right? And so in this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he goes on to talk about the fact that, if you and I want to, move forward in the way of our dreams, we need to, number 1, develop the habit of persistence. Now, when I ran into Bob Proctor just a few years ago, Bob Proctor actually told me to begin to study this book. He said, start to study the book. And he said, not only study the book, but read in it every day. Now, there was one point in Bob Proctor's life where he was at a live event and he had a guy come up to him and say, Bob, you have all this success, and we've both read the same book. I read Think and Grow Rich, and you also read Think and Grow Rich. How come you're so successful and I'm not? And Bob Proctor said, I'm still reading the book. You see, the thing was that the guy who wasn't successful stopped reading the book. He read the book one time and then put it down. But Bob Proctor is still reading the book like over 40 years later, right? Because Bob Proctor, I think he's somewhere up in his 80s. I'm not exactly sure his age, but he got this information when he was around 26 or 27 years old, right? So he's been studying this book since he was 26 or 27 years old, and now he's in his 80s, right? And so the reason that the guy who wasn't successful was because he stopped reading it. You see, the thing that Bob Proctor actually encourages you and I to do is to study in the book Think and Grow Rich every single day, right? He doesn't just say pick it up and read it one time. Bob says to study this book every day. And one lesson that he gave me, I think it was on his 6 Minutes to Success, this program that he had going. I think he might even still have it going. But he talked about, you want to read in that book, for at least read in the chapter on persistence every day. And he might have given like a specific amount of days, like 30 days or 90 days, but I honestly encourage you to read in that book every single day. Read in that, and not only in the book Think and Grow Rich, but read in the chapter on persistence. I believe it's chapter 9. It's chapter 9 in my book, and it might be a different chapter in your book. And the reason that I say that is because if you're in the home-based business industry, or if you're reaching out to achieve your dreams in anything, a lot of times it's going to take you to have some faith, right? You're not going to just believe that you can be this artist or this musician or this home-based business owner and like reach your goals if you, number 1, don't have the mindset for it, right? Now, before I go any further, I want to tell you that there's no guarantee you'll earn any money from watching this hangout. Please see our income disclaimer at www.empowernetwork.com/income. But what I do want to encourage you with is that I believe that if you begin to study in this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and you begin to read in that chapter on persistence daily, I believe that you can actually get to the next level of your success, right? And I can't make any guarantees here, but I'd like to believe that if you read in that chapter every day, you're going to increase your faith, right? Because in this chapter, Napoleon Hill actually lays down 4 things that you and I need to do in order to develop the habit of persistence, right? In anything, right? And so if you're a home-based business owner out there, or whatever it is that you do, I want to encourage you today to do what Bob Proctor encouraged me to do, which is reading that chapter on persistence every day. Now, you may miss a day, you may miss a few days, but pick it back up. Don't be like the guy who goes to Bob Proctor at a live event and says, hey, Bob, you're successful and I'm not successful, but we're reading this, or we read the same book. Well, you don't want to be the guy that says, well, I stopped reading the book, right? You got to kind of make it a part of your life, right? Because a lot of times our mind will tend to drift away from what we want. Like, we may go to a live event, or we may read in a book and get inspired for a short period of time. But if we don't continue to learn and grow and reprogram and redirect our mind, what will happen is it will fall back to where it was, right? Our mind has a tendency to forget, right? Our mind has the tendency to drift. And so we want to, read in this book often and read in the chapter on persistence often, right? Because he gives us 4 things. Hello to all of you newcomers. I'm Chanel Childs, and what we're talking about today is what I learned from Bob Proctor. And that is something that, it's something that's really encouraged me in my life and in my home-based business. And that's to, number 1, read in the book Think and Grow Rich Daily, right? Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't ever read it, or if you don't even have a copy of it, Google it, and you can find it for free in many cases, right? Because in this book, he lays down the foundations for what people like Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, all these successful people did to actually get to where they were, right? And it's the same principles that you and I can begin to do today in our home-based business. It's the same principles that you and I can take today, take today in the year 2016 and apply it to any business, right? And so the 4 things that he actually gave you and I to do in our home-based business is to, number 1, in order to develop the habit of persistence, first, you want to read in the chapter on persistence every single day, right? In the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill, in that chapter, gives us 4 things to do. The 4 things that he gives, the first thing is to, number 1, have a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment. So we want to have something that we desire, right? Something we want to have a clear goal that we actually write out, right? I actually don't believe that it's a goal unless we write it out. So we want to have number 1, a clear goal, right? A clear goal and a burning desire for its fulfillment, right? Because when you have a burning desire, you're probably going to be more than likely to follow through, right? One of my mentors who I haven't ever met, Jim Rohn, says something along the lines of, when we have strong goals, they pull us through. So number 1, we want to have a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment. Number 2, Napoleon Hill encourages you and I to have a definite plan expressing continuous action, right? Now, in order to get this thing to work for us, in order for us to move forward in the way of our dreams, you and I have to, number 1, have a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment. Number 2, have a definite plan expressing continuous action, right? We have to take action, right? Because things aren't going to just happen if we don't actually begin to move on it, right? We got to take continuous action. Number 3, he says to keep your mind closed tightly to any discouraging or negative influences, including the suggestions of relatives, family, or friends, or anybody that would discourage you, from achieving your dreams. Keep your mind closed tightly, right? So number 1, have a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment. Number 2, a definite plan expressing continuous action. Number 3, a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, including the suggestions of relatives, friends, or acquaintances. And number 4, develop a friendly alliance with at least 1 or more people who will assist you in the carrying out of your dreams. Now, I highly encourage you today that if you don't already have some sort of accountability team or accountability partners, to get some, right? Get people who are like-minded, who have similar goals, who want to do similar things, because in it, you're going to find at least one of those people who will assist you in the carrying out of your dreams and really encouraging you to press on, even in the face of discouragement. Now, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Chanel Childs. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday to actually tune in today and really learn about what I learned from Bob Proctor, and that's to read in the book Think and Grow Rich Daily by Napoleon Hill, reading that chapter on persistence daily by Napoleon Hill. If you don't read anything else, hello and welcome to all of you newcomers. I'm Chanel Childs. What we're talking about today is what I learned from Bob Proctor. Now, Bob Proctor actually taught me a few years back to read in the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill every day, right? Every single day. Why is that? Because in it, you're going to find the principles that people like Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, Thomas A. Edison, and other successful entrepreneurs actually did to achieve their dreams. Now, they were, they all, achieve their dreams back in the early 1900s, but we can still apply the same principles that they used back then today in the year 2016, right? Now, the number 1 thing Bob Proctor told me to do was to read in the book Think and Grow Rich every single day by Napoleon Hill, and to read in that chapter of persistence. If you don't read anything in the book, if you read anything, make sure you read in that chapter on persistence. I believe it's chapter 9, And in it, he's, Napoleon Hill gives 4 things for you and I to do to follow, to develop the habit of persistence, right? Why do we want to develop persistence? Because if you're going after your dreams probably seem pretty impossible, right? So Napoleon Hill gives 4 things in that chapter on persistence. It's number 1, have a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment. Number 2, have a definite plan expressed in continuous action. Number 3, keep your mind closed tightly to any negative or discouraging influences, including the negative suggestions of relatives, friends, or acquaintances. And number 4, develop a friendly alliance with at least 1 or more people who will assist you in the carrying out of your dreams. Now, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you all for being here. If you want to find out what I'm doing and the different things that I'm working on within my home-based business, if you want to find out what kind of business I'm in, go ahead and send me a private message on Facebook. My name is Chanel Child. I would love to connect with you there. Add me as a friend. Have an awesome day. And once again, we'll see you back here probably next week. And also, if you want to learn more right away, just go to successwithchanel.com. It's success. My name is spelled Chanell. Successwithchanel.com, and connect with me there. Watch the quick video, enter in your name, your email, and how you found it, and watch the quick video, because I believe that together we can grow, together we can win. And I think that really changing our mindset is key, and really plugging into what other successful people like Bob Proctor are doing can help you move forward in the way of your dreams. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now. See you next week.